really come across, just one single type of coin so often, just seemingly coming out of nowhere. And many people were witnessing that. And they also were claiming that when they went to bed at night, they would come downstairs and they had these really heavy metal dining room table chairs that would be stacked up on the dining room table with a napkin on top of it. And, if somebody told me, I came down in the morning and a couple of my chairs were drugged, out a few feet from the table, I kind of believe that, but to have them very neatly stacked seemed a little too precise for a ghost to do something. So I wanted to look into that a little bit. And then the thing that kind of tipped it for me was that they claimed they had this newborn baby in a crib in the master bedroom. And the other kids went to school. Mom and Dad were home. They went upstairs to check on the baby. Baby's not in the crib. They get frantic, look all over the upstairs, and find the baby 2 bedrooms down on top of another bed asleep, when the baby, obviously can't even walk yet. So there were a few things there that I thought maybe they were just embellishing on, exaggerating a little bit, and really wanted to dig in. And we went down, and I think we, in the end, spent 3 different nights at the home, and each time was just as impressive as the next. We actually witnessed these quarters coming out of nowhere, falling out of thin air, being thrown across the room. We were able to catch that on video. Doors opening and closing, seeing shadows, toys turning on and off by themselves. Just this massive amount of activity. And, so in my head, trying to look at everything very objective. Okay, we have a lot of physical activity going on here. Is it a ghost? Well, I don't know. So, we documented everything the best we can. Our team does work with a very credible psychic medium who for 10 years now has just kind of blown our minds on how accurate her information can be. She felt that there was a ghost in the house doing a lot of this stuff. She actually did think there was a little bit of human manipulation too. Someone, a younger child, taking a little bit of advantage of the situation for his own personal gain. And that may be where some of the other things like the dining room chairs and stuff came in. I'm not convinced yet that was a ghost, but yeah, without a doubt, that was a case that kind of left me scratching my head in a lot of cases. Just as an example,
well, I got to ask you back on this, on
Sure.
the quarters. Did you ever figure out where the quarters would be coming from? Because I don't know any ghosts that would be able to manifest quarters, and
Yeah, that was completely amazing for me, and that's kind of where I was going. We had physically, well, let me just say this. When we do our investigations, we try to clear the house of as many people as possible, because it just helps reduce contamination. It makes it easier for our psychic to work and less people to have to worry about. So we made sure everybody was out of the house. We were investigating physically seeing quarters being thrown across rooms. Where they were coming from, I don't know. We had a camera in their basement where they reported wine, that they had imported wine on wine racks in their basement, and it was a old unfinished basement with stone walls, but the wine would pop off the wine racks and smash on the floor. So we set up some recording equipment down there, and sure enough, we captured, with one of our investigators present, a quarter falling right out of thin air, and the ceiling was just the flooring and joists that were there, but we tore that ceiling apart, and then we went upstairs. Same thing. There were no vents, no tears in the carpet. It was wall-to-wall carpeting above that room. Nobody was home except the 3 investigators that were there. And we couldn't find any quarters. We thought maybe there were some just stuck up in the joists or something, but we cleaned that ceiling as good as we could for any quarters. And about 15 minutes later, with another investigator sitting, another quarter drops out of the air. So we captured it twice.
Oh, wow.
And the second time, we were sure there were no quarters planted. But they had 2 big jars full of quarters that they were collecting. And one thing I can say, and I'm not sure the significance of it, the 1 quarter that I saw go across one of their 3rd floor rooms, I immediately went in and picked up, and it was very warm. So, again, I knew the house was empty, but I was tearing the room apart, looking for anybody hiding in closets. And there was just nobody there. So that case just absolutely leaves me scratching my head to, be a firsthand witness to all this stuff and not be able to tell where these quarters are coming from.
Yeah, especially like if the quarter was like warm to touch, or then it would make me feel that, hey, well, that's been in somebody's pocket or somebody's hand for a minute or longer, and then
Sure.
all of a sudden manifest like that. Now, did you also go back and check who owned the house previously, and how many people back owned it, and how old the house was? If anything ever strange ever happened in that house?
We did. We were unable to get in touch with the former residents of the home. The home at one point was just a single-family home, but later on it was split into a double-block style home. And we had no access to the former residents that were there. The home was an early 1800s home, and honestly, I don't remember the whole entire. This is going back to 2008. I don't remember the exact information on the prior stuff there. I don't believe we came up with like any unnatural deaths or anything that would have occurred at the house. But one thing that did stand out, going through the house with our medium, she had said, or asked me, has the clients talked about any voodoo that they did in the house or any voodoo that might have been done to them? And I said, no, that never came up anywhere. And she said, can you give them a call and ask them? And I'm like, ooh, oh boy, here it goes. This is make or break the medium time here. That's a pretty weird claim. So I gave him a call and I said, hey, Virginia, our medium here, wants to know if you guys did any voodoo in the house or had voodoo done to you. And they said, yeah, we think so. So I'm like, well, that's pretty significant. You never told me anything in regards to that. So it was a very personal nature of the way it was done, but they believe that someone had done that to them, specifically to the husband, to sort of ruin his life. And you got back to them that they had sent something to them. And that's exactly what our medium was picking up. And again, it wasn't something I believe that started from like a strange death or homicide or suicide or something in the house. It seems to be something that was sent to them.
Well, I kind of believe stuff like that because, when I was in junior high, I was having a big problem with my math teacher. I mean, he was really a jerk. And me and my best friend also, he felt the same way. And we were going into the magic store quite often where we lived down the road. And we bought because we saw something on one of the local channels. They showed some, even back then, and it was an old voodoo movie, probably made in the late 30s. And we watched, how they, took a doll and stuck needles in it. So we went to the hobby store, and lo and behold, they actually had some doll type things there. We brought it. We bought it, brought it home, and we did our spell on Mr. Bender, and stuck needles in it and all this stuff. Well, come Monday morning, and this was over the weekend, we go to school, we find out he's in the hospital. He had appendicitis. And actually, we were sticking these needles in his stomach. Actually, that's where we were putting him. So I don't know if it's just coincidental, but I tell you, it really freaked me out.
Yeah, I would think it would at that age, probably thinking that, wow, that's quite an impact that you guys might have had there.
Well, I don't think it actually had anything to do with it. If it does, I'm sorry, Mr. Bender, if you're still alive.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That's one thing that I have seen over and over and over is when you're physically present at a place going through things real time and something happens, quite often, like myself or other team members will say, it had to happen this way. There's absolutely no other way this could have happened. And this even is true in police work. And you're convinced something happened a particular way. And then you go and you find out additional information, or in the case of paranormal investigating, maybe you're reviewing video and, beyond your wildest dreams, another way did happen to cause the event, and you sit there dumbfounded going, wow, I would have never believed that. It was a total coincidence that happened, but it seemed legitimate at the time. So, yeah, strange things, do happen like that all the time, I think. And, people quite often will put a meaning to it that might not be correct.
Well, I got to ask you a question, too, since you worked with mediums and you were a detective. Do you believe a person could be possessed in such a way that here's a normal person, it was a good husband or a good son or whatever, for some reason they get possessed, and all of a sudden they go out and kill somebody because all of a sudden they started hearing in their mind, all these little things, like convincing them they go out and kill somebody, Now, I know there's people out there that are schizophrenic and all that stuff, but I'm just wondering sometimes if people can get possessed and go out and commit a major crime and they don't even know that they're actually doing it.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. I personally, from everything I've experienced, and this is over 12 years, from what I've experienced myself from talking to so many clients and victims and witnesses, I would have to say I would think it may be possible. A possession is very, very rare, I would say. Again, relying kind of on our psychic medium who has been born with this ability. She's in her late 50s now, has done professional work for 30-some years. And that's a lot of, cleansing houses and working with people. She claims maybe, 2 or 3 times in 30 years she might have come across something that was like a possession level incident. But there's people who are called empathic. It's believed that they can pick up emotions of other people or spirits, and that I've come to believe because I've seen it many, many times where I've gone on a walkthrough of a house with a client, and in one particular bedroom, somebody would say, I was laying in bed one night, I woke up and I felt all this pressure on my chest, I couldn't breathe, it felt like somebody was on top of me, I think I'm being attacked. And 9 out of 10 times, later, when we bring our medium in, they'll go into that same room and say somebody died in this bed of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pattern that I've seen over and over, where I think the people are picking up the energy of that event that happened, and they're feeling it like their own. And I think that happens from what I've seen many times going into cases. A family might move into a house, and then the family will start reporting personality changes in a particular person or a couple of people. Maybe they're very frictional and angry now where they were always happy before. And, we'll bring in our medium, and she will describe a spirit that might be there who was, just as an example, a male alcoholic who was very abusive towards his family and displayed all these different emotions and actions, and that's what the person now is seemingly mimicking. So I think they're picking up that energy. So I think in some cases people can pick up the energy of other people and sort of act off of it. I've seen people become very depressed when we've gone into places, and later our medium reports having maybe a spirit there who killed themselves. They were very depressed, and these people even become suicidal sometimes. I've worked with one gentleman who claimed that he was possessed. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him to go through all the proper steps to do, proper cleansing of him. And there's a lot of work when people are reporting a possession. You want medical history, psychological evaluation, and the guy just wasn't willing to work through all the different things that we needed to do. But, so again, to answer the question in a long way, I believe it would be possible, but very rare. And again, I think in more cases, I think people are acting out on emotions that they're picking up from a spirit or even a location that's got a bad energy in it. But it's still up to that person to, keep control of their emotions. They're the one who has to decide whether to act out on them or not.
Oh, wow. Hey, I got to say something here too. On Facebook Live too, besides broadcasting. Hey, people on Facebook, if you want to go to www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, you can finish listening to our show. That's www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And I want to thank all the people who are listening on Facebook Live. Hi, Karen. And again, hi, James. So I'm going to end that feed right now. And now we can just concentrate on the radio show. That, I was always curious about that because I've had and read cases where a child or a young adult in the family all of a sudden started, the family bought a house, for example.